Now, when you teach, if you're teaching how, if you're teaching strategies, if you're teaching procedures, you use this model, which I proposed in my book, Strategic Reading, which is really a Vygotskian model, an assistance given to kids. I see a lot of you nodding out there. Assistance that is given to kids in the context of a task that'll help them to do something they couldn't do without the assistance. That's what we'd call teaching. Now, in this model, you start with I do as the teacher, and you as the students watch me. I take off the top of my head. I'm modeling. Vygotsky said that modeling is the tool of tools, that you must demonstrate for your students how to do things. Now, when you model, the kids are dependent because you're showing them how to do something new that they don't yet know how to do. And you're showing them, you're taking off the top of your head and showing them your expertise so they can appropriate it, borrow it, start to use it on their own. The second step is I do as the teacher, and you help me do it. This is called collaborative productive activity or joint productive activity, where I'm doing the same task after I've modeled it, and now I invite you to take over the parts that you can do. You know, this is how apprenticeship works in trades. You know, and if you're an electrician and you have an apprentice, you do the task and the apprentice watches. Pretty quick, you're going to do the task and have them do the parts that they could do, helping you out. Eventually, you get your apprentices to do it together. Same thing in a classroom. You get students to do the task together, and you help them as needed. That's called gradual release of responsibility. And then finally, the students do it alone. That's called independence, and you assess or help as needed. In the boys' study that I did with Michael Smith, a pretty typical complaint among the boys was teachers give you hard things to do and then they don't help you. When you teach, you got to give kids hard things to do and then assist them to do it. Now, if I use this model, I can differentiate in many different ways. Because first of all, if I'm teaching a procedure, like let's say reading for symbols, or if I'm doing an inquiry, say, what are civil rights and how do you protect them? It doesn't matter what content the kids are using as long as it applies. So I can be using picture books for some kids, and short stories for others, and harder text for still other kids. So I can get differentiation on the content, and yet everybody's still involved in the common project of meeting that procedural or conceptual goal. Another thing I can do to differentiate is, let's say I'm teaching something like making inferences or understanding some deep concept like, you know, what are civil rights and how do you protect them? Then what I can do is I can be modeling for the kids who need it. I'll have other kids who I can be working with and they help me. I might have groups of kids working together. I'll get around to them when I can and help them. And I'll have other kids who can do it alone, and I'll give them harder text, more sophisticated challenges that they can be doing on their own. So I can get differentiation on each one of these four levels when I'm teaching by giving kids different levels of assistance. Now let's say that I believe as a teacher that my 7th graders, I teach 7th grade right now, have to know how to read symbols at the end of the year. They've got to know that. Then I got to make sure everybody gets it. And different kids are going to need different levels of assistance. So I have to make sure I stick with it till every kid has it.